everyone, and welcome back to NASCAR's Fantasy Fastlane show. I'm Jessica Ruffin here with NBC Sports' Steve Letarte. You guys came out and played. It was an awesome first week at Daytona. What a great week in fantasy, and Daytona certainly lived up to the excitement.
Well, we knew it was going to be exciting. We also had an idea it was going to be full of chaos, and Daytona was like every restrictor plate track. There were good cars, some slow cars, lots of wrecks. I felt good about my team going in. I had a strong lineup of fast cars, but they have to make it to the finish. Brad Keselowski, kind of my workhorse on my team, he wrecked early enough that I could take him out, put my garage driver in. Clint Boyer, even with a broken engine, still scored me a few points.
That happened to me with Suarez, actually. I had Daniel Suarez in my lineup, and I ended up switching him out for Bubba Wallace, who you didn't think was a great pick for Daytona, but
listen,
worked out.
How she came up with any sort of answer that Bubba Wallace was going to be the answer is beyond me, but that's what fantasy's all about. Take a risk, and that's really what that garage pick is all about, is you can put a driver there that you don't have to depend on. You just have the chance to put in if the timing's right.
Now, Austin Dillon was only in 7% of lineups in fantasy, so do you put somebody like Austin Dillon in Atlanta coming off Daytona 500 win?
Well, I hate to say this to Austin Dillon, but if he was in 7% at Daytona, I would have him in less at Atlanta for two reasons. One, the emotional high of the Daytona 500. It's going to be a distracting week. That is a career-changing event, but also just his numbers in Atlanta aren't very good. So don't get caught up in the emotion. I wouldn't have the Daytona 500 champ in my lineup.
So who are you looking to put in your lineup?
Well, without a doubt, my must-chooses start with Martin Truex Jr., the defending champion. Last year, he won 7 out of the 11 mile-and-a-half tracks, so his numbers speak for themselves. Kevin Harvick, last year, dominant at Atlanta, led almost 300 laps en route to a pit road mistake that killed his chances of winning that race. There's something about that racetrack, that bottom lane in 3 and 4, he's so dominant on. And then my third pick, I think it's a little bit of an emotional pick, but Chase Elliott. The Camaro's a little unknown, but the Georgia native has had a lot of success running inside the top 10 both times at Atlanta. My concern, though, is his teammate. My first avoid?
We disagree on this.
Oh, so you're going to put Jimmie Johnson in. Okay, well then, Jimmie, if you're watching, I need you to run like 15th. No, seriously, though. Jimmie Johnson, the 7-time champ, his numbers say start him. Everything about Jimmie Johnson says start him, but I challenge you to find a track where you wouldn't start Jimmie Johnson. Simple fact is, it's still an unknown. He's on a 24-race losing streak, which doesn't sound bad, but for Jimmie Johnson, it's career long.
He's 7-time for a reason, though. You know, he's won 5 times at Atlanta. I mean, he's won 2 of the last 3 races there.
Well, the problem is, how am I going to put him in? Because when I look at my sleepers, I look at Ryan Blaney. He's the type of driver that I think had a good run at Speed Weeks. I think he can go down there and run well. Another sleeper that perhaps is going to be my garage pick is Kurt Busch. He's a 3-time winner at Atlanta. He knows how to run there, and he's been in the top 10 9 times in the last 13 races.
Well, we disagreed on Jimmie. You've got Austin Dillon to avoid. Who else are you looking to avoid?
Jamie McMurray, I'm going to avoid this weekend in Atlanta, maybe later. And I think that's the key. Everyone has to remember, you only get 10 picks. We're only at the second race, so before you put all your eggs in, remember, it's a long summer.
It is a long summer. What about Joey Logano? What are you looking at doing with him?
Same thing. I'm leaving him out, not because I see any stats that he should or shouldn't be in my lineup. The simple fact is I want to save him. I want to make sure I have Joey Logano later in the year. But I'm going to let all you guys out there get a little head start, and come about June or July, I'm going to come up the rankings in the league.
Look at him smack-talking right now.
Listen, you got to stick with what you're good at.
Well, it's a long weekend in Atlanta. A lot can happen practicing qualifying, so we'll see how everyone fares. But what I do know is I'm going to beat you this week.
She said that last week, I'll remind you, and she lost. So listen, a lot of people think they're going to beat me, but I'm up for giving insight. Tweet me, tweet Jessica, ask some questions. We'll try to give you updates all weekend long. As you mentioned, it's a long weekend at a tough racetrack. A lot can change.
And you guys can still join the league. If you guys want to play against us, you have the opportunity. NASCAR Fantasy Fastlane.
It's a big week coming up. NASCAR goes west. We head into Sin City, Las Vegas. Another mile and a half, but really nothing like Atlanta. You're going to have to tune in to see who ran good at Atlanta and if they will be in our starting lineup next week at Las Vegas.
Thank you guys so much for watching. Tune in next week, as Steve said, when we go to Las Vegas.